In the expanse of a man's existence, the whispers of temptation echo without cease, morphing in form, yet eternally intoning the same seductive summons. At one turn, it manifests as the magnetic pull of an unfamiliar allure, drawing with elegant insistence. At another, it gleams as the illusory vow of digital flesh, a fleeting refuge from the rigors of authentic living. Before he fully discerns it, he yields again to those primal urges, that familiar capitulation, that inevitable remorse. Desire is no mere aberration, it is a solemn rite, and like every rite, it venerates a sovereign. The contemporary man, armed with his keen intellect, bows daily before this idol. He does not reprise his folly through blindness, but through inexorable drive. This is the perpetual return of craving, a psychic and ethereal circuit that Nietzsche might deem a malediction, veiled as yearning. Nietzsche, that unrelenting challenger, framed an inquiry that vaulted beyond mere thought into the arena of inner combat. Imagine a spectre stealing upon you in the dead of night, murmuring, "This life, as you now endure it, you shall endure anew, and infinitely so." Would you hurl yourself to the ground in revulsion, grinding your teeth in fury, or declare, "Thou art divine, and never have I encountered a decree more hallowed"? This is no abstraction, it is the crucible. If you persist in succumbing to desire, fully aware of its toll, void, contrition, frailty, would you embrace its recurrence? Most men would, ensnared as they are. They are not transgressors, they are captives. The spiral commences not in deed, but in the latent void. Freud, architect of the psyche's depths, illuminated the repetition compulsion, a warped impetus of the spirit to reenact wounds and unquenched longings, cycle upon cycle, despite the anguish it inflicts. Desire often reenacts forsaken yearnings from youth, unhealed scars, or submerged culpability. Freud did not brand Eros as malevolent, yet he unveiled how erotic force, when diverted, erodes the soul incrementally. The ecstasy of surrender morphs into a subtle dissolution, a ritual yielding to the abyss. In chasing gratification, the man unwittingly courts annihilation, a means to evade his core essence. Thus, he iterates his lapses not for elevation, but for anesthesia. This trajectory leads not to ascension, but to atrophy. The man of today, chasing ephemeral fulfillment, only deepens his entanglement in frailty. Desire cloaks the anguish he evades, the terrors he shuns. He pursues not fortitude, but the oblivion of excess. In this quest, he forges his own fetters ever stronger. To shatter them, he must gaze unflinchingly into his inner void, not with the ephemeral balm of indulgence, but with the iron resolve of dominion over self. In the depths of the psyche, Carl Jung beckons us further, not toward mere deeds, but into the realm of archetypes. There lurks the shadow, that concealed facet of self you deny, harboring cravings, fury, covetousness, all the elements you feign mastery over, yet what you entomb will rise to command you. The object of your longing is no tangible entity. She is your own shadow cast through allure and artifice. Desire concerns not her essence, but the unexamined void within you. The more you evade this surge, the more it claims dominion. Jung declared, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Thus, you label it affection, you term it affinity, but in truth, it is your inner obscurity summoning you to submission. Yet awareness alone does not sever the bonds. For David Dada emerges, perceiving desire not as simple error, but as a fracture in manhood. A man adrift from purpose employs intimacy as an anesthetic for his unrest. Every man recognizes the depletion from unions devoid of depth. That void transcends the corporeal, piercing the core of existence. Desire serves as a veil for the absence of enduring impact, a forged bond when you have not yet pledged allegiance to your calling. When manhood lacks substance, it grasps at illusions, courting an ignoble end, not by valor's blade, but by the seepage of vitality into obscurity. Herein lies the plight of the contemporary man. He endeavors to occupy his inner chasm with ephemeral delights, unaware that each pursuit inters him further in delusion. The more he hunts validation beyond himself, the more he strays from his sovereign center. His pursuits, deemed emancipatory, only reinforce the snare. Authentic release resides not in external quests, but in the resolute encounter with the interior. To surmount the shadow, a man must confront it squarely and seize his authority, not via excess, but through the steadfast rigor of intent. Only thus can he eclipse the latent drives that bind him, ascending to his inherent might. This truth extends beyond abstraction. It is a contest of essence. The ancient Taoists grasped it eons past. Sexual vitality, or Jing, stood as the cornerstone of sovereignty and dominion. To dissipate it erodes not merely the form, but blunts the intellect. Release without resolve mirrors a sacred elixir cast upon barren soil, a profane depletion. Taoist masters instructed that Jing must be transmuted into resilience, acuity, and presence. A man who preserves his core grows honed, resolute, and composed. One who scatters it relentlessly turns indistinct, fraught, and diminished. Most men of this era falter not from labor's toll, but from the hemorrhage of their essence through unchecked impulses. Thus, the wheel turns onward, an instant of hunger, a gesture, an interlude, and you circle back to origin, not through malice, but through slumber. You dwell in oblivion to the recurrence, uninitiated into your authentic command. Until you halt, draw breath, and dismantle the sequence, you shall reenact this existence eternally, not by destiny's decree, but by your deferral of ascent. In the crucible of longing, you are drawn into timeless discipline, awakening to the alchemical might of Eros, a wisdom once guarded by ascetics, combatants, sovereigns, and visionaries. This transcends mere denial. It is the ascent of intent. By commanding this vitality, a man rises above the ordinary, drawing from a reservoir of force that invigorates not only his frame, but the essence of his being. To forsake this potency is to dwell in dormancy, chasing ephemeral thrills while the profound capacity of his spirit slumbers untapped. This primordial rhythm endures only by your consent. A man dominated by urges is not doomed. He is merely severed from foresight, from the heart of virility, from the profound current surging beneath the hunger. He confuses the flicker for the inferno, the allure for the journey, the summit of ecstasy for triumph. Yet there arrives a pivotal fracture when the man rejects the sedation of indulgence. When his essence thunders beyond the carnal, that instant marks your emergence. That instant is upon you. The initial threshold is vigilance. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence serves not as idle speculation, but as a keen edge, severing the trance of habitual existence. Envision this. When craving surges anew, demand of yourself, shall I elect this conduct into infinity? Do I decree the repetition of this void, this remorse, shadowing gratification, without end? Should the response be denial, you have pierced the veil, and piercing it dissolves the enchantment. Longing thrives in obscurity, yet illumination scatters it like vapor before dawn. The man awakens to clarity. He ceases mere reflex. He commands. He neither shuns the impulse nor yields. He channels it. This channeling echoes what Napoleon Hill terms sexual transmutation, a forge separating the commonplace from the exalted. In Think and Grow Rich, Hill unveils that luminaries, commanders, creators, conquerors, harbor amplified erotic drive, Yet they conserve it, they redirect it, they harness it as propellant for invention, resolve, allure, and precision. He asserts, the transmutation of sex emotion calls for the exercise of willpower, to be sure, but the reward is worth the effort. The man senses the blaze of yearning without incineration. He emerges as the anvil of resilience. His bearing intensifies, his stature amplifies. He embodies the tempest, not its quarry. This journey encompasses not mere restraint, but radical metamorphosis. It is the reclamation of the primal vigor beneath the urge. The common man remains ensnared in the loop. The exceptional one transcends, wielding the energy that might unmake him to erect his existence and vocation. This is the mastery of surpassing instinct, of ruling the primal rather than being ruled. In this dominion, the man not only shatters the wheel, but forges his sovereign fate. Yet this transcends mere philosophy. It embodies a doctrine of existence. Erect a bastion encircling your resolve. Construct a regimen that venerates masculine vigor rather than depleting it. Immerse in frigid cascades when urges ascend. Commence dawn exertions to root steadfastness. Immerse in doctrinal texts to fortify the intellect. Pursue deliberate labors to infuse significance into your span. The psyche surmounts craving not through abstraction, but through enactment. You neither extinguish the blaze nor condemn it. You harness it as an instrument of dominion. Here, Jung and Nietzsche re-emerge, not as theorists, but as architects of renewal. Jung affirms, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Craving is not your essence, it is your rite of passage. The drives that once eroded your fortitude can now serve as your concealed arsenal, should you elect to temper them. Nietzsche's overman is he who sculpts his own form. He bows not to deities, allure, norms, or surges. He extracts worth from turmoil. You embody that turmoil. Your longing is unrefined awe, and your self-command is the edifice that shall emerge from it. What form does this ascended man assume? He withholds not for sanctity alone, but for ascendancy. He governs himself not from dread of the feminine, but from profound self-reverence. He pursues not fleeting rapture, he summons it by embodying its origin. He craves no validation, he erects an enduring monument. He stands mythic, not mundane, concentrated, not scattered, consecrated, not barren. His vitality unnerves the commonplace, for it eludes manipulation, yet it draws the exceptional who yearns for one tempered in ordeal. This is the forge of exalted manhood, and it demands rigor. Longing will eternally murmur, allure will perpetually entice, and the vessel may falter. Yet you engage not in combat, you alchemize. You regard craving not as sovereign, but as mentor. Permit it to evoke your latent might, should you refuse subjugation. Your drives are not afflictions, they are directives. The inquiry endures. Will you permit them to drag you into former captivity, or will you pursue them toward hallowed restraint? Thus, the trajectory unfolds with precision. The contest lies not in defiance of the impulses that propel you, but in their conversion into your bedrock of might. You must decree, shall you persist in yielding, or shall you ascend, dismantle the recurrence, and manifest the stature destined for you? Authority resides not in the carnal, nor in ephemeral delights. Authority dwells in your capacity to command the self, to temper resolve, to direct your essence toward a grandeur exceeding the individual. Through this metamorphosis alone shall you liberate the authentic potency of your virility, a potency wrought not by external decree or fate, but in the forge of your indomitable volition. This is the forge of exalted manhood, a passage exacting fortitude, rigor, and unwavering intent. The Odyssey suits not the timid, but those primed to confront their obscurity, challenge their surges, and transcend the disarray. It commands forfeiture, yet yields liberation, the sovereignty to embody purpose, dominion, and profound realization. Should you stand prepared to embark, to rupture the bonds of craving and reclaim your sovereignty, then align with this forge. Enlist in this conduit, and let us advance as one, carving a renewed archetype for contemporary virility. Impart your reflections, your ordeals, and your conquests in the discourse beneath. Let us draw wisdom from kin, evolve in unison, and propel each toward eminence. The era of renewal dawns, the decree persists. Will you advance into the crucible, or linger in obscurity? Decide with resolve.